What's going on, everybody? Now, I know it's just me tonight. Ryan will not be here. He's busy with his family. Got some father-daughter activities to go with, so I will be handling your questions for the evening. This is RGR Football, and obviously it's not Ryan going rogue tonight. It is Dan going rogue by himself. So I will be doing all the Q&A quid pro quo here. And today was also the start of Chiefs OTA practices, which I know all of us are very excited about. So we get to hear best shape of, guys that are in the best shape of their lives, all that fun stuff. No contact, obviously, but there's lots of storylines we will be able to talk about. Seeing some guys coming off of injury, Brian Cook, as well as Najee Johnson, and two guys to keep your eyes on for not just OTAs, but how they play going into the actual training camp, all of that fun stuff. So I'm interested to see what you guys really are looking for out of OTAs. Yes, Rashee Rice is at OTAs. We'll see how that works out in and of itself. But yeah, there's not much going on right now. It is the dead time of the NFL season, even with OTAs starting. So you guys feel free to ask any kind of questions that you want to. It doesn't matter to me, whichever ones you want to ask. We will get it here as well. I've also got the Tigers and the Royals game on next to me, so I just watched them take the Royals take the lead over the Tigers. So that makes me sad, and I know a lot of you happy. So welcome in. What's up? Oh, you want a hug and kiss? Come here. You can all also say hello and good night to my little one. You want to tell him who your favorite Chief is? Remember?
Kelsey.
That's right. Travis Kelce. That's good job. Come here. Got a kiss. And say goodnight to everybody.
Good night.
Oh. Good night, sweetie. All right, that was the star of the show. Whenever she wants to come up here and say hi to y'all, I always let her do that. So, yeah, again, if you guys want to ask questions, go for it. Make sure you put the question marks before the question. It makes it easier for me to pick out amongst the chat. I know, again, they're part of the dead season where everyone's out doing their own stuff, not really talking about football, but that's what we're here for. We are here to talk about football. The Chiefs NFL season draft, all that stuff is in motion. It's all the way through. I also saw Kingsley Suamataia was at Chef J Barbecue in Kansas City today, which is I have not been to yet. But I need to see what he ordered so that I can go and order that. I desperately need to go. I just haven't been able to make the time to go up there before they sell out. So that's definitely something I got to do. But yeah, you guys know we always come out here. We're trying to cover everything for you and answer all the questions possible. So make sure you guys get your questions in. All super chats obviously will be answered. You can always do that at any moment throughout the live stream. And you can also become a member of Rogue Nation. Start at the rookie level, and we'll get you into that Discord. You just you link your Discord to your account on YouTube, and bam, you're in. As Ryan would say, you're in like Flynn, and we're good to go. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started tonight. But like I said, OTAs did begin today, and it's to my understanding that teams are allowed a maximum of 10 OTA practices before training camp begins. So I'm interested to see some of the storylines coming out. And in the comments, you guys go ahead and put what you want to see out of OTAs. Who is the name, or what name do you want to be maybe getting the most buzz coming out? So I want to hear you guys' thoughts on that as we get going. So interesting. We'll start off here with Steve, who was the first one in here and also is a member of Rogue Nation. Thank you for being here, Steve. How does the Chiefs organization, coaches and players, team leaders, make this team more aware and accountable for some of the off-field decision-making? Well, that's a good question, because the problem, I think, for the most part, isn't so much that there's no accountability. It's during the off-season, you're allowed to kind of be by yourself for a little while. And idle hands are the devil's plaything. Even though we know that a guy like Rashee Rice was working with Patrick Mahomes and Bobby Strope in Texas, he also was hanging out with maybe the same crowd he was hanging out with at SMU, where there has been now more rumors come out about some of the things that he did at SMU, and it's not the best. So sometimes it's realizing that the people that you used to hang out with at times aren't the best people to hang out with throughout your career. They're not as successful as you, maybe. They're not going to give you the best advice. And that, unfortunately, is more of a learning experience. Now, I'm not going to say that what Rasheed Rice did was an excusable act or something you can just wish away and explain away that he just made a mistake. It doesn't work that way to me. It's more about being able to separate. This is not just a job during the season. It's also a job in the off season. You have to manage it professionally. And especially for a guy like Rasheed Rice, who came into the spotlight, and for the Chiefs, a rookie that had a really good season. He won the Super Bowl as well. So there's a lot that goes on there. So it really does, for me, come down to talking, being aware, and the thing about this is also that he was with Patrick Mahomes. We know Patrick is locked in and dialed in at all times. So it's hard to really know what they're saying, and what they ask of their players, because at the end of the day, this is not a parent and kid relationship. This is adults. You have to be able to be responsible for your own self. And if you're not, and if you can't be, that's when the organization has to, either part ways or discipline you. So like I said, at the end of the day, this comes down to learning from your mistakes. In some cases, really terrible, awful, illegal mistakes. And hopefully they find their way out of their brain. So that's the only thing I can really say about that. But hopefully it goes away from here, because it's not something that I want to see any more of, specifically because every single offseason it feels like we're dealing with something different from a Chiefs player, and so on and so forth. So, Chris, thank you for your question. What is the Chiefs ownership matter that is being voted on this week? I haven't seen anything about Chiefs ownership specifically. So if there's somebody that knows more about that, please let me know. The only thing that I've been able to find on owners voting on something is a private equity framework for allowing big businesses to buy small shares in teams. It's all I can find, and they're voting on that, I believe, this pretty soon. 20, yeah. So that's the only thing I could find. If you guys have any other information, please relay it to Chris in the chat, and we can figure that out. All right. I think for some reason I starred these questions at the beginning and they didn't show up. So, all right, I got the ones that were there. All right, we're good. Clinton, thank you for your super chat and being here today. Who is the running back 3 right now? I think Bailey, but maybe Ingram. So that is another one of the interesting questions about not just the OTAs, but the training camp. With the release of LaMichael Pirine, it makes things a little bit different, because we know that Jerick McKinnon is not in Kansas City right now. He is still out there as a free agent. So if we look at the Chiefs roster, it doesn't give a lot of clarity, because there's only 2 guys that are proven on this roster. It would lean to me that Ingram would be the 3rd guy, but at the same time, they drafted 2 rookies, and that leads me to believe that it's going to be pretty much an open competition for the 3rd/4th running back on the roster. I still think that they want to have 4 running backs, specifically for their ability to be interchangeable with some H-back stuff, some fullback stuff, and things like that. So there might end up being 4 running backs on the roster, but also there could only be 3. But when you have Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who also have had injury histories, you probably want 4. So if I had to guess right now, it's Ingram, but this is going to be an open battle. I believe I could see both rookie running backs making this roster over Keontae Ingram, because I'll be honest with you, I don't think Ingram is a very good running back, but maybe he proves me wrong in this system. And that's what one of the other storylines for this entire off season and the OTA period is how are they going to do that and get that figured out. So yes, Clinton, excuse me, to answer your question, I do believe right now it's Ingram, specifically because he has experience and no one else outside the two guys have experience. So that's who I would lean with right now. And again, I know that a lot of people liked Deneric Prince last year. I don't think he's going to make this roster. I just don't. So appreciate the super chat. Oh, yeah, my you guys know allergy season is rough one. So we got lots of stuff going on up here. We'll just kind of leave it at that. And make sure y'all please just really quickly take 2 seconds while you're watching now, whenever you want to hit that like button for us. It really helps get us out to the rest of Chiefs Kingdom and all those people out there that want to have, the best Chiefs coverage around. So, oh, good Lord. Sorry. I just watched Javier Baez once again reach for a ball and then ground into a double play. He's just the worst. He's the worst. Appreciate you, Justin. Thank you for reminding the good people to hit that like button. Oh, good Lord. John, thank you for your question. What games do you plan on going to? I'm going to my first game in over 30 years. That's awesome. Congratulations on that. It's a fantastic, I know it's in a fantastic atmosphere. It's even better now that the Chiefs are winning consistently and putting a good team every single year. So they got to beat the Bungles. Yeah. So it's going to be tough for us this year with how expensive the tickets have gotten. And as much as we'd love to be able to go to these games, it's not really a feasible option right now. And I haven't gotten to the point where even if that becomes available to us, I don't know what game we'll be going to, but it would probably be one closer to October, maybe early November. And that's kind of how that's going to shake out. So I'd love to be able to go to one of these games, but it's not in the cards right now, but still going to look at different options whenever we can. But I'm glad you're going to get to go. I hope the Chiefs do you proud and beat the Bengals on the second week of the season. Oh, thank you for being a member, Des, for 15 months. Awesome. Thank you very, very much. You think Caleb will have a 2018 Mahomes season? I think it's very possible. He's being kind of airdropped into one of the best offenses that a rookie quarterback really has ever been dropped into. The offensive line's good. It's not great, but it's a good offensive line. They have weapons at the running back position. They have Cole Kmet. They brought in Gerald Everett, and then they have 3 legitimate wide receivers: DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and then they draft Rome Odunze. It's a legitimately good offense that they're going to be, at least player-wise, they're going to be in. So at the end of the day, he's definitely got the possibility. I don't think he's going to get 5,000 yards because the Bears, they're going to be a run team with a defense. That defense played very, very well down the stretch. I expect them to play well during the season as well. I don't think he's going to get close to that 5,050. Like that's not really what I'm looking for. But he could have a very good season, and I expect him to as a rookie. So thank you for being a member for 15 months. That's awesome, and thank you very much for the question, as always. Doctor Who, what's going on? Is Kelsey's bedtime also at 7? Probably 7 a.m. Like if I had to guess, I doubt he goes to sleep until about 7 a.m. So yeah, I mean, she's learning. Avery's learning the players, and she knows her favorite player, which it's always nice to have a 5-year-old that has their favorite player on the Chiefs team. So it's definitely not a comparable situation for bedtimes, but at the same time, depending on where he is in the country, yeah, maybe he is. I don't know. I appreciate you being here, Doctor Who. Clear the air. What's going on? Thank you for your question. What are your thoughts about Remigio making the team? I feel like he was on the right track last year until he was hurt in training camp. Oh, that's a tough one. So because of the Rashee Rice situation, you look at the guys they brought in, some smaller players, and the reason Remigio could have made the roster last year is because Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy's skill sets weren't on the roster. Now it looks like the Chiefs are very comfortable putting Xavier Worthy as their return man, and then they still have the usage of those smaller receivers. Sky Moore's coming back, Kadarius Toney, which they're still pumping the smoke there. So I think last year was the year for him because he needed to have that rookie season, that return ability. He needed to showcase that in regular season when they kept 7 wide receivers. Last year for me had to be the year for him. And unfortunately, I don't think this year, given they're probably going back to 6 wide receivers, they added smaller, quick, fast guys with return ability. It doesn't seem to me that this is going to be the year that he's going to be able to break through. It's unfortunate, but it's just kind of how I see it going, especially with some veteran help. I expect them to add maybe one more veteran before the end, before training camp is over. So it's going to make it tough for him. Thank you for the question, though. Nikki, appreciate you being here. And thank you for your question. What do you think about the release of P. Ryan? That one was a little bit surprising to me, but you look at, Deneric Prince and Amani Bailey, both kind of have that catch out of the backfield upside. I think Bailey is a better pass catcher. I think he's more explosive. I think he's a better overall athlete than Deneric Prince and P. Ryan. So they also I think honestly, it probably means that they believe more in Keontae Ingram than maybe I do. So like I said, I'm very interested to see what he does during the OTAs into training camp, because that RB3 spot is his to lose at this point in this juncture, because they got rid of the only other veteran running back in the room. So that's what I would say about that. Danny, thank you for being here. Thank you for your question. Is there going to be league discipline for Wanya Morris? Isn't marijuana legal in Johnson County? So, if I'm not mistaken, they were in Kansas, and it is illegal in Kansas. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I know there was some talk about it through the chat, so I'm just going to go up and kind of look at it and see what I got. So yes, it is a misdemeanor in Kansas, but it's legal in Missouri. I do believe that they were arrested in Kansas, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's going to be any league discipline for it. No. At this point, it's kind of an overblown issue with the marijuana stuff. You guys can have your opinions on it. That's fine. That's totally okay. I think at this point, they were in Kansas. So yeah, I just don't think that we're going to see any issues with it. But regardless of where they were, you can't do it while you're in the NFL. So I don't know. Maybe they get slap on the wrist. I don't think Wanya Morris is going to face any league discipline for it, but depends on how cooperative you are, prior history, things like that. So just kind of go with the situation and see what happens. I don't expect anything, but yeah, Johnson County, Kansas. Okay. That makes sense. Of course, yeah, definitely. I agree, Nikki. It's definitely poor judgment. You got to know. Like, you can't be doing this stuff. You just can't be doing it. That's always, you have to know. Like, read the room, right? You guys know you can't do it in the NFL. Like, just I'm just tired. I don't know why, man. I don't know why we continue to have this. These off seasons, man. You win so much and people forget their place, right? Absolutely insane. Oh, Dub Freak, thank you for being here. And thank you for the super chat. Always, thank you very much. Hi, Dan. Glad to see you're doing well. I got worried when I heard you were in the ER. I know we have cap room to bring in a vet player, but I just can't see it happening. Thoughts on if they do spend? So I appreciate the thoughts. Again, it was just a weird situation, and able to get through the passing out and the vasovagal response that my body had during the blood draw. So we're good there. Allergies are the next thing kicking my ass right now, as it seems every day I'm battling some kind of either sneeze or itchy eyes where it makes it worse. So we're getting through it, but I appreciate that. I don't think that they're going to like spend that cap space. I think they're going to try to roll it over next year, but I do think we're going to see some type of veteran brought in at some point. There's going to be cuts made post June 1st. That's going to be the area maybe we see the Chiefs look to bring in a wide receiver, specifically a bigger body X receiver type, because they don't really have that on their roster. And I swear, if I see Sky Moore as an X receiver next year again, after what we saw last year, I'll lose it. I will lose it. I'm not ready for that. They don't really have a true X. It's essentially Justin Watson and nobody else. So they need something else there, especially when Rashee Rice is most likely going to be suspended for some portion of the early parts of the season. But with Rashee Rice being at OTAs, they're gonna be working through the situation day by day. The NFL has not put him on the commissioner's exempt list, which is a little surprising to me, considering the other allegations now that are out there with the cameraman. I know there's some different stories about that, about whether it was real, whether the cameraman was taking his story back. So that's something we're going to have to wait and see on. But sorry, trying to line up questions as I go through this, and I always click on the wrong thing. But I think it's going to be a wide receiver or a running back. I think that makes the most sense to me for veterans' responses. But again, the Chiefs might feel more comfortable at the running back position than I do. It wouldn't shock me if they brought back Donovan Smith just to have him as a backup, because I think that as a backup, as a veteran option that can also teach Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suamataia more about the position, it's a really good spot for him to be in, and I think that it would make a lot of sense. Thank you for your super chat, Gary. Thank you for your question. And again, you guys got a couple of mods in here tonight, Gary being one of them. I know I saw FLDB in here too, so give them a shout out because they do a fantastic job helping us each and every time we do anything here with streams, and always trying to help us out. So appreciate you guys very much. Dan, are the Chiefs interested in Dalvin Cook? Oh, I hope not. Dalvin Cook is absolutely toast. He's done, and nobody should be looking to sign him. And that was very weird. What is happening? Okay. Sorry, guys. I got distracted there. Dalvin Cook is toast. He's done. He should not be on anybody's team anymore. Shouldn't be in the league anymore. I don't think that he's going to be able to do anything that you don't already have on the roster. So please no, Chiefs. I'm good with that. I'm good on that. I appreciate you being here, Gary. Jeremy, thank you for your question. Good to see you tonight. Do you think the ship has sailed on signing Donovan Smith, or would you not be surprised to see him brought in? Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see him brought in just for depth. Like, really, they have three tackles on the roster that I would feel comfortable playing in a game. And we've seen Donovan Smith play in the NFL. He's played last year. They won a Super Bowl with him at left tackle. So the simple fact that he could be a veteran backup and you get 4 actual tackles on the roster, I'd be more comfortable with myself. So I definitely think it's not out of the question, especially considering their kind of predicament at tackle at the moment. Exactly. And I just don't want toast on this team. I'll eat toast. I love toast. Love some peanut butter toast too, but I'm not going to have toast on this roster. Players that are toast need to be done. Stop looking for paychecks because teams don't want to pay it anymore, especially running backs. What's going on? Thank you very much for your question again, Nikki. Do you think the Hunts will ever let fans buy a small stake in the team? I don't. I don't think that they're ever going to do that. Considering how much they want control over everything themselves, I'd be hard pressed to think that they are going to be okay with the voting that small companies can do that. So we'll see how they vote when that vote comes out. But no, I don't think that they're going to allow fans to buy a small stake in the team. Doesn't seem like something Clark Hunt would appreciate and want to have happen. Steven, thank you for your super chat. Thank you for the question. What do you think? What do you know about UDFA tight end Texas Tech from Baylor Cup? I don't know anything about Baylor Cup, to be honest with you. Didn't see him at all. I'm sorry, I can't answer the question very well. But what I can do is we can look up at least some basic numbers on him. So to actually give you some insight on a player, maybe. Oh, it says here he's listed at 6'6", 260 pounds, and around a 4.55 40. Interesting. So speed at the tight end position is what that looks like to me. Again, I wouldn't expect him to be making the roster. I wouldn't expect him to have much to do here. Is more of a camp body, show something. Maybe he can, because maybe he can work from a inline blocking perspective. Maybe he's a better blocker. So that's something, again, I don't know about, but he's got the ability, at least from his 40 time, to run fast in a straight line. So the Chiefs are looking for speed at the tight end position. But again, if he offers more upside as a blocker than a guy like Jared Wiley, who's also pretty quick for his size, maybe that's something they're looking for the future. So just just something interesting there. That's all I got on him. I'm sorry, Steven. I don't have more. Voodoo, what's going on? Most intriguing position battles this offseason, and first or second year UDFAs most likely to make the team. So I think the most interesting position battle is starting cornerback 2. Who is that going to be? We know Trent McDuffie is number 1. Outside, inside doesn't really matter. But Najee Johnson, coming off the injury, was slotted to be your starter in those nickel sets with L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie last season. So is he going to continue that step forward? Is he going to take one of those roles on the outside? And then from there, who wins over Josh Williams and Jalen Watson? Those 3 guys, I think, are in lockstep for the 2 positions. Now, if Kamal Hayden is 100% fully healthy, I would not be surprised if he was the cornerback 3. Okay? That means I think, based off the little that I've seen of him, because it's incredibly impossible for me to get Tennessee defense. I don't know why, but it's impossible for me to get it. So I'm trying my best here to get what I have and see what I've got on him. But from what I have seen, from what I have heard from people that I trust, he was a very good player at Tennessee before he got hurt. Ball skills, can find the ball, locate, can really be an asset in this type of Spags defense. I wouldn't rule him out. So I think for me, cornerback position is the most intriguing position battle. For most everything else, I'm pretty confident and comfortable with what's going to happen. And then UDFA's, it's the running backs. I think that they're the only ones where you're going to see some legitimate ability. There is a possibility that Fabian Lovett makes the roster as a defensive UDFA defensive tackle because of his run stopping ability. We've already seen him flashing in the rookie mini camp. We'll see if he continues to do so into training camp, because that's an interesting spot that the Chiefs need, especially because they traded for Neil Farrell. They brought in Isaiah Buggs. We haven't really seen anything from them. So maybe the Chiefs are just like, well, we tried, and maybe Fabian Lovett can actually come and take one of those spots, be backup. And so I would be interested there. I think the guy that's most likely to make the team is Fabian Lovett. But the second, in my opinion, would be Amani Bailey. I would not be shocked to see that at all. Whew. J-Man, what's going on? Oh, sorry. That's Casey Handeman. What are your thoughts on the Butker fiasco? Just kidding. Here's my real question. Chris Sims thinks that we'll see a strong screen game this season. I mean, Chris Sims is really just really picking up some cherries right there. Andy Reid has the best screen game every single year in the NFL, and that's not really saying too much that it's going to be that good this year because it was really good last year. So, I mean, I don't listen to Chris Sims very much. The guy doesn't really know what he's talking about. But that's pretty, it's picking cherries at this point. It's easy thing to say because it's always good every single year. So yeah, I think there's a good guess that they're going to have a really good screen game this year. They do every single year. Jeremy, thank you for your second question. What's the biggest disappointment with the game schedule? I mean, I'm not like super disappointed in the Chiefs' schedule, but I'll pull it up. I'll see what we got because I don't have it memorized yet. All right. So I'll look here. Buffalo's week 11, Browns, Houston, Steelers, Broncos. I don't have any problems with the schedule, to be honest with you. I like the schedule. I like what it is. I like what they've done. I like opening the season against a couple of tough teams, and having Atlanta be the first away game is, I'm good with that. I don't know. I like it. I like it. I guess the only thing I could say that I don't like is the bye week. I would love to have a late season bye. That's all I want. I want a late season bye. So there, Jeremy. I want one thing different with the schedule, and it's a late season bye. That's all I want. Why can't you give the defending champs a late season bye? What do we have to do this for? It's ridiculous. William, thank you for your super chat. When will we have a good idea of which cornerback will replace Snead? Also, when will we have a good sense of where guys like Nazia and Cook are in recovery? So this is unfortunately something I've kind of been talking about already, but a good idea is training camp. I would say by mid-training camp, you'll have a good idea who's going to be replacing Snead. But Nazia and Cook are going to be a little tough. We'll get some kind of eyes on them during OTAs, so you get to see how they move. I pretty much want to see how they handle contact, and that's only going to be in training camp. So the first couple of weeks of training camp, I think we'll kind of see how far along they are, and then I would say mid training camp, you'll probably see who's going to be replacing Snead on the outside. That's probably, like I said, the best area I got for you in terms of what that's going to look like. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, guys. Tom, good to see you. Thank you for your super chat. Do you see us in underdogs in any game this season? So I think they're probably not going to be underdogs in the in the sense that Vegas has them as an underdog. I don't think there's any game on the schedule except maybe the 49ers. If the Chiefs are 4-1 and the 49ers are undefeated coming into that game, then they're probably going to be underdogs. But other than that, unless they have the season they had last year, no, I don't think so. Oh, my bad. My bad, K. Okay, so K Chan Demand. Gotcha. My bad. I got that figured out. But I don't think so, Tom. I think just the 49ers game is the only one that I can see them realistically being a Vegas underdog going into, especially because they'll be in San Francisco. So that game probably, even actually right now, if you looked it up, it would be an underdog. That's about what I got. I think that's the only one that makes sense to me as well. Oh, Voodoo, thank you again. What do you think the Chiefs will do with their 17 plus in cap space? I think they're going to try and roll it over. But also maybe try to get an extension done. That's something I think that they might try and do too. Bring in a veteran or two just for training camp bodies. Again, I do think Donovan Smith is going to be brought back in just because of depth. And it's always a good thing to have depth, especially on the offensive. Oof, man. For whatever reason, around 7 o'clock, 7:30, the allergies reactivate. So I'm like trying to not die right now. Patrick, thank you for your question. Stat predictions for Rice, Hollywood, and Worthy. Well, I can't give you a legitimate stat prediction for Rice until I know how many games he misses. Let's just assume right now that it's going to be around 6 games. So that means you get 17 total and get 11 actual games out of Rashee Rice. With the allotment of wide receivers added with Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, I don't think 1,000 yards is going to be even close, especially with 11 games for Rashee Rice. I would say something closer to maybe 650 yards and around 55 receptions for him. If it's 11 games, if it's more, that's still good, and maybe around 6 or 7 touchdowns, or 650 yards if he gets 11 games. That's how I think that plays out. And again, I can't really know until the season starts and we have an idea of how many games he's going to miss. Hollywood, I would love for Hollywood Brown to actually get a lot of yards. It's probably not going to happen, but I definitely think a 750, 800 yard season is not out of the question. Red. I'm trying, I'm just trying not to, to be weird on a live stream. Like, it's weird. I'm over here touching my face and stuff, but I'm not trying to be overly weird while I'm doing this. And it just, I don't know. We're all human and we all have allergies and itchy stuff. So I'm just trying to be professional. But for Hollywood, Patrick, I think that 750, 800 yards is the max I could see for him. If he hasn't a season like that, he definitely is going to get extension somewhere else and lower side of touchdowns. I think 5 touchdowns is probably the max for him, and around maybe another 50, 60 reception season, I think could get it done for him. Worthy is the wild card, right? How much are they going to trust him with early on? Are they going to actually employ him as a rookie like other teams do? Put him into the fire. Just throw him the football. He's the one player on this team that I think could get to 1,000 yards because of what he does. But again, when Rashee Rice comes back with Travis Kelce and Hollywood, the division will be different. So I think for his rookie season, I'm probably landing on 700 yards, 600 yards with 40 receptions, maybe a little bit, because he'll probably get some deep targets as well. And then 6 or 7 touchdowns, I think, is not out of the question for him either. So rough estimate numbers. I'll probably have a much better stat prediction time when we know when all that stuff will be put through. And Jeremy, yeah, you're right. The 3 games in 10 days is tough with 4 days rest, but they dealt with something pretty similar this past year, if I'm not mistaken. Not the exact timelines, but I think that they're going to be prepared for it. Des, thanks for the $2. How does the offense change if Hardman is added? It doesn't. Hardman won't be starting because Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy can actually track the football, and he would not be used downfield, at least for. I've been rewatching the playoffs right now. I'm getting ready to do a Juwan Taylor breakdown. You guys should be excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about flags and stuff. A good chunk of time. But it doesn't change at all, specifically because he can't be trusted to catch the ball downfield. He doesn't track it well. He had one deep touch in the playoffs, and it was the one against the 49ers where, honestly, he probably shouldn't. It should have been intercepted. The safety underneath just missed it. So I hope they don't add Hardman. They have enough speed now. There's really no need to. And a lot of times he was not trying, just wasn't trying. And that's not okay with me. So I don't think we see anything different outside of maybe just more speed, which again, the Chiefs have quite a bit of now. Tom, what's going on? Again, thank you for your question this time. This last time. Okay, let me try that over again. The last time this happened with Demetrius Harris, he got a 1-game suspension. That's true. Again, I don't know. I haven't seen around the league how many other players have been, found with my marijuana possession. I just think as an overarching statement, it's not going to be as serious. It also, again, will depend on the everything that goes on behind the scenes that I don't know. Maybe you guys know how much it was, but I didn't look into the specifics of how much they were found with and, and things like that. So just kind of go through the process just like everything else that's happened with the Chiefs. Let the process play out, and we'll get better ideas of all of that when when it all does get to that point. So again, I'm not expecting anything for Godric and Wanya Morris, but that can always change. Doctor Who, what's going on? Thanks for this one again. Will all these crazy offseason distractions affect the real season, or will Andy get them focused? I think we've seen maybe not to this level of off-season distractions, but we've seen a lot over the past few years, starting with Tyreek Hill, Frank Clark. This is not unheard of, unfortunately, for the Chiefs in the offseason. And every year they do come in and they get prepared. And last year was a little different. I think that was just more stress on the offense to be what everyone expected them to be post Tyreek Hill after winning a Super Bowl. Took some time, and then finally realizing that, oh, we can't do the exact same things that we've wanted to do, and they go back to the basics and finally start moving the football, and they win the Super Bowl. So I think Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, because he plays a huge role in this as well, do a great job of getting these players ready and knowing how to lock them in for the season. Because essentially right now, this is the start. You have OTAs, then guys get a little bit, another vacation, and then it's go time. You get June, a little bit of July, but these guys are going to be working. They're going to be working. Basically, their actual jobs start in 2 months, a little less than 2 months, if I'm not mistaken. So they're going to be getting ready to go. So it's starting to tick down for them. And I think Andy Reid and them and everyone in company has done a fantastic job of understanding when to start getting guys locked in. With the Rashee Rice issue aside, the fact that he is working, the fact that he's in OTAs is a very good thing because he's trying to get right. And I did see a comment that there was a misunderstanding with the photographer. Hopefully that's correct, and we can just put that part behind us. Hopefully he's cooperating as his lawyer has said, and everything can just kind of ease on through the process and get through. So hopefully it was a learning experience for him. Obviously we don't condone what he did. The issues aside, he's been working. We've seen pictures of him, not just with Hollywood Brown, with Patrick Mahomes and Bobby Strope. So at least from a football perspective, it seems like everyone's locked in and get that as well. So I trust the front office as well as the coaching staff to get these players locked in, ready to go, like they seemingly do every single year. I appreciate you, Dr. Who. Chase, thank you for your question. Is Julio Jones for the vet minimum? Absolutely not. Just like Dalvin Cook, unfortunately, Julio Jones is 100% toast. He offers nothing for any team. And that's the reason that he's still out there, why he was playing with the Titans, even on the Eagles. He doesn't offer you anything anymore. It's unfortunate. My dog also agrees and does not want Julio Jones on this team. I don't. You're just clogging it for somebody else. There's a lot of talent, and I know there's always someone that comes at me on Twitter or in the comments on YouTube saying this guy also thought last year was the most talented wide receiver room that Mahomes ever had. Collectively, I'll stand by it. Talent-wise, okay? Talent-wise. Now, it didn't happen. And when Rashee Rice gets back from his suspension, I'm going to say it again this year. This wide receiver group, top to bottom, whoever ends up being on the roster, will be the most talented that Patrick Mahomes has had. That's a fact. Now, execution, we'll find out, right? We'll find out. That's always the thing. It's about the execution. You can have talent. You can be a very good football player. But when it comes to results and execution on the field, that's what we make. That's how everyone gets judged. That's just how it is. So big no for me on Julio Jones. Big no, which sucks because, Julio's one of the best to ever do it. Just not anymore. William, appreciate you being here. Thank you for the question, as well as being a member. Can they put Kelsey at X with Amore with Wiley at tight end? Yes and no. They always use Travis Kelsey at the X position, but Jared Wiley is not NFL ready. He can't just come in and be an inline tight end. He played 5 years in college, and last year was the first year he actually did anything. But he had to transfer out of Texas to do it, and he didn't learn a ton going from Texas to TCU. So I'm not on the board that you can just kind of put him out there and say, yeah, Jared Wiley, go do this, go do that. But you can still use Travis Kelsey as your X. They do that a lot, and a lot of times it's because he's basically an X receiver. So they still will do that, and it limits what they can do with Travis Kelsey in the middle of the field, because that's where he's the best. That's where he's his best, where he's in space and consistently finds space to do all that. So you always can use him in that way, but they got to find some other ways to facilitate that. Oh, Red, I'm not going to be doing that. No, thanks. No farting here. Oh, Nikki, thank you again for another question. I was watching highlights from last season. This guy was doing really well at the start of the year. What do you think happened? Was it where they put him as Rice came on? Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's funny you say that, because as I was watching through some of Juwan Taylor's games from last year, I was noticing the same thing where Sky was open. He was getting the ball a little bit more. But I do think that Rashee Rice being involved more and having a bigger impact on the offense than he was, in large part because they put Rashee Rice in the role that Sky Moore is best at. That's what he's best at. And they de facto made Sky Moore an outside majority receiver, which is not what he's best at. And I think mentally it hurt him a little bit. And it's tough for him. And you're a second-year player. You've got tons of expectations heaped onto your shoulders in no part of your, not your own fault. You're doing a good job being in training camp, working with Bobby and Patrick Mahomes in the offseason. You're doing all the right things. But unfortunately, Rashee Rice comes in. He's bigger, he's faster, and he was more explosive. So I think that happened there. And mentally, it derailed his season, and then he got hurt. So on top of that, mentally, just being able to do all that, it sucks, but I think that's unfortunately what happened. Whew. Another one. Thank you, Gary. Dan, I hope this stuff in Harrison Butker went through this year with the church thing affects his play this year. Oh, dude. Oh, you hope it doesn't affect his. No, I don't think it's going to affect his play at all. I'll just say this: he's got every right, being an American, to say what he wants to say, his freedom of speech and all that. And obviously he was talking at a religious event where it's his Catholic denomination. So it is what it is. I don't agree with what he said. That's what I'll say on it. So no, I don't think it's going to affect his frame of mind. I think he's going to be just fine from a football perspective. I also don't expect the NFL to do anything, because that would raise more problems, I think, than as long as I think the big problem we're seeing right now is that I've seen a couple of coaches come out and talk about how they don't want him to be, either suspended or fired because of all this stuff. So just whatever happens. I don't think it's going to affect his play on field. Pono, good to see you. What's going on? How's it going, Dan? How are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Just allergies trying to kill me, as they are now every single year that I live in the Midwest. I think Zamet and Steele will make the roster. Absolutely. I don't. We're going to kind of find out with Zamet if the NFL game's too quick for him, if the learning is a little bit too much, all that stuff. I hope he makes it. That would be nice to see him on the roster, because it gives you a lot of different things that you can do from a running back wide receiver perspective. So he's definitely got he's going to have the opportunity to, but Steele also makes a lot of sense from a third down perspective and a short yardage perspective. Big guy, physical. I like what he does. I personally think Amani Bailey is a better overall running back than everybody not named Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco. But that's just me. Voodoo, thank you again. If the Chiefs wanted to move on, do you think Tony could have any trade value from a 6th or 7th round pick? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Especially after what happened last year, especially after being in two organizations where you went back and you talked bad about the team while you've been on the team. No, he's got zero trade value at all, which is the exact reason that the Chiefs are still pushing through with him. Tom, appreciate you and thank you very much for the super chat. Guess on the longest pass play from scrimmage. All right, guess on the longest. I think we're going to see a 62-yard pass to Xavier Worthy this year. That's what I think. I think he can actually score. It's funny. I was watching more film today from Juwan Taylor, and there was a couple of Rashee Rice clips that I saw, and I'm like, if that's Xavier Worthy, it's a touchdown because he just didn't have the speed to pull away from guys. And that happened a handful of times in the games that I was watching. Just like these plays, if they're going to run some slants, some crossing routes with Xavier Worthy and have it be him in some of these roles and not Rashee Rice, who again, he's done a good job being the explosive play threat. But if you put Xavier Worthy there, they're touchdowns. They turn into touchdowns. It's not something that we've seen this year, this past year, the year before. They haven't had that. So I think we're going to get some big plays and some big play touchdowns returning to this offense. And I'm excited to watch it, especially because you guys know I was very high on Xavier Worthy. I think he can be a legitimate star on this team, especially when you get Rashee Rice back. You pair him with Hollywood Brown. You mix in Justin Watson. I think you got everything you got there. So definitely a lot of ability. Tom, thank you very much again for another super chat. How good do you expect Dave Toub to have them playing on kickoff returns this season? He will change the league when everyone starts to copycat. I don't know. They have a whole offseason to prepare with these new rules. That's, again, I think another part of the reason they brought in Louis Zemet to be able to execute some of these plays. I don't know everything that we're going to see. But once training camp comes around, maybe we get some OTA clips of them practicing some stuff. I'd love to see it. We'll have a much better idea. But I think this is, again, why he's in Kansas City still. I think he's been talked about as a head coach in some areas. That's kind of died down over the last couple of seasons. But that's why he's here, to get these guys ready to be one of the best special teams groups in the NFL. So he's definitely going to have them ready. I'm excited. I hope we see some new stuff, some things that we haven't really prepared for. That's always fun to really kind of hone in on. All right. Appreciate another question. Chandaman. You said we don't have a true X now, especially if Rashee is suspended. I guess this is more of a conceptual question in general. What exactly defines an X? Do they need speed and size to win? Yes. For a basic perspective, your X receiver needs to be able to line up on the outside and win on his own against true press coverage with speed or ball winning ability, or again, route running. It all comes down to X receivers, not in Andy Reid's system, but as an overarching concept, are dying in the NFL. You think of AJ Brown, you think of some of the big body X's, his teammate DK Metcalf. That's the traditional style, the size, the speed, the athletic ability. But Kansas City doesn't use X receivers in the same exact way. We saw Sky Moore lined up out as an X receiver last year a ton. MVS was used in that way as well. But everyone is expected to be able to play every position possible. So slot, Z, X, flanker, all these different positions you have to be able to play in Andy Reid's system. So what I mean by having a true X on the team is somebody that you can line up on the outside and say, okay, if they play man coverage on third down, he can get open. And if he's not open, I trust him to catch the football in a 50-50 win situation. That's not something that the Chiefs have. So that's when I talk about it for the Chiefs perspective. It's somebody that can actually do that. And that's not something they've had since Tyreek Hill. They just haven't had it. I mean, you can say Juju Smith-Schuster kind of presented some of those because you could trust him with back shoulder throws. And that was an area that the Chiefs desperately needed. And last year we saw Rashee Rice catch a couple of those. And even Sky Moore caught a couple of those on the outside too. So I just don't want Sky Moore as an X. I just don't want that. So that's kind of where I'm at with the X receiver part. Hope that answered your question. Chiefs Knicks fan, thank you for being here. Nice to see you. And a member for 14 months. Love, love, love. Thank you very much for the support. I'm still thinking the Bears quarterback Williams is being overhyped, and that's your prerogative. Like I don't have any problems with anybody who thinks he's overhyped. I get it, and I think we're just going to have to wait and see. I think he's an extremely talented quarterback. I'm iffy on the coaching staff there. We'll find out. They can also kind of screw up the development process, right? We've seen good young quarterbacks be unable to get it right in the NFL, specifically because coaching staffs have screwed them up. So it's possible that Caleb lands into a position where this team, like last year in Justin Fields' last 2 seasons, they started it off the exact same way and expected different results. That's the definition of insanity. And then they saw the problems persist. So if they go back to being what they were and not starting off with an offense that fits him, they absolutely could have some issues. All right. Yes, no, you're right. They do line up Kelsey as an X, and predominantly his best position is still playing open over the middle of the field. You don't want to limit Kelsey to one side of the field. He still wins that way. They use him as a screen player in that way as well, but you limit what he's able to do from the X position. So as much as as talented as he is, and you can use him as an X, especially now, you don't really want to use him all the time as an X receiver. You need him exploiting the middle of the field and getting in and getting out of there and doing what he does best. All right. I got a few more here lined up, and then we'll get you guys out of here for the evening. Gary, appreciate you. And again, one more question for you. Dan, do you feel Tyreek regrets going to Miami like he did? Oh, I don't think he does at all, because he's got the money he wanted. If he wanted rings, he would have stayed in Kansas City. It's very simple. They offered him a $22 to $25 million contract, or excuse me, $22 to $23 million per year. He turned it down. The rings were not on his mind. It was the money. So I don't think he regrets it in the slightest. But again, that's kind of his problem now, right? He's playing in Miami and getting all the football he wants. That's all that really matters to him. Chief Knicks fan, thank you for the super chat. Never ever wanted to see MBS back. Well, we all didn't, and we expected he would be released very quickly, and he was, and now he's in Buffalo. So it's funny. You think about the quarterbacks he's played with in his career: Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and now Josh Allen. That's a pretty damn good career of quarterbacks. But what's he done with it? Like, what's he done with it? He's got a couple of rings. That's a lot more than other people. So definitely nothing to sneeze at. Nikki, again, thank you for another question. Someone a couple of months ago had asked for a show explaining terms like X, Z, etc. Has Ryan mentioned anything more about that? Because now during the slow news would be a good time. Yeah, we're trying to get on the same page with when we need to both take some time away, some vacation steps. So maybe when we're doing something like that, it would be a good time to get into it. So I'll broach it with him again so we can get a better idea of some of those shows for you guys, because I think that would be definitely a good idea for those of you that want to learn more about what we do and what NFL players are doing and being asked of. So again, thank you, Nikki, for another one here. even Patrick Mahomes said he wouldn't be the quarterback. He is now without sitting that year behind Smith. Yeah, exactly. That's and it's different for everybody, right? Some guys can come in and play. I think Patrick Mahomes would have still been great if he didn't sit that 1 year, but I think he's better because of it. And we'll see if Caleb Williams will be exactly what everyone expects him to be. I think Drake May should sit the whole year in New England, especially with Jacoby Brissett there. It would make a lot of sense, but that's probably not going to happen. So, yeah, no, it's definitely very, very helpful for these really talented players to sit and learn for a year. All right, this is the last question of the evening. Thank you very much, Tom, for your final question and super chat. Do you see a scenario where we bring Jet back? Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and think this is McKinnon and not Hardman because, again, if you get into training camp through OTAs and your running back situation isn't what you thought it was, you don't have someone that can take over as a legitimate pass protector, and he is healthy, then yes, absolutely. You bring him back and you say, hey, you're a third down back again. We run him back with the exact same 1, 2, 3 running backs, and you figure it out that way. I will never rule out bringing back Jerick McKinnon, specifically because he's been so good for this team and so clutch for this team and been what they needed from a true third down running back. Andy Reid loves him. He loves being here. So if there's anywhere he plays next year, it's going to be in Kansas City. I don't know if he plays anywhere else. And with that, you guys, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Another Monday in May where we got nothing else to do, but OTAs have now started. So we'll keep you guys up to date on everything that happens there. You guys can follow me on Twitter at InHarmsWay19. You can follow Ryan, even though he doesn't post anything almost ever. But we will keep you guys here with more content. I will have a Juwan Taylor film review for Monday. Or excuse me, for Wednesday. Ryan's got some stuff coming as well. I think he's going to get back into some film this offseason as well. So I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening. I'll see you on Wednesday with the Juwan Taylor film review and everything else that we do here at RGR Football. So thanks for all the support. You guys hit the like button on the way out, and we'll see you next time, okay? Enjoy yourselves.